It's time to go ace hunting. I think there are a couple of frontline starters that you need to try to get now while their value is at rock bottom. Plus, a couple of my favorite preseason hitter values that have not exactly panned out yet, but I am still keeping the faith. Let's start with what I think is an obvious one in Atlanta. No, not Chris Sale. I actually just talked about him 2 days ago. And yes, he is a great buy low, but let's go to Spencer Strider, who is back on the IL again. Bad timing, perfect timing to make a trade offer. And here's why. Because the knee-jerk reaction here is this guy just missed an entire season. He's made one start, and here we go. He's already hurt. This is a huge red flag, right? But it's not. Because we know he missed time due to elbow surgery, Tommy John, right? The UCL. His injury is not to his elbow arm at all, even upper body. It's a hamstring injury, and it was kind of a fluky thing. It didn't even happen in the game. It happened while he was playing catch. So it's an annoying thing for sure, and he is super annoyed by it, as he should be. But this is not something that worries me. This is, part of the deal. Re-injury risk, not just for the actual side of the injury itself, but for anywhere else. A guy misses so much time and, has just gotten back into putting full max effort into throwing the ball superhumanly hard. Yeah, like this just a normal thing. It will happen, but this will not keep him out very long. And so this is a great time to take advantage of somebody who is panicked or overreacting. And Strider is a warrior. He was desperate to get back onto the mound as soon as he could. And after this latest injury, he was, again, very annoyed, but he even said himself, "Will do everything humanly possible to get back as soon as I can." I believe him, and I think he can because, again, this is a grade 1, low-grade hamstring. It's not serious. It shouldn't keep him out too long. And so if somebody is just fed up or distraught or they just don't want to deal with having him still on the IL, this is where you take advantage. Now, of course, to get something, you're going to have to give something. They're not just going to, I hope, drop him. If somebody does drop any of these players, by the way, which happens all the time in some leagues, then you scoop them up. But besides that, if you got somebody who's smart enough to not do that, but maybe they're willing to negotiate with you, you're going to have to give up somebody who's actually performing, somebody who can help their team right now. So let's look at the options. I think I would be willing to give up a guy who's been great so far in Philly, Jesus Luzardo. There's never a guarantee that he stays healthy for a full season, so I'm willing to part with Luzardo. He's also not exactly known for being the beacon of consistency. Great start. Look, I like Luzardo. In fact, I had him on my preseason breakout video. I thought this could be a great season for him. It has been. But give me Spencer Strider instead of him. And the same thing goes for Mackenzie Gore. I cannot quit Mackenzie Gore, and I'm glad I didn't because so far this year he's been great. Not every start has been great, but the strikeouts. Gore's leading the majors in strikeouts as of right now. That's Strider's job. So it stands to reason if you're going to try to get an ace like Strider, you're going to have to give up somebody who's performing like an ace, but really isn't. And I think the same applies to Dylan Cease for the Padres. And we know just a couple weeks ago he got roughed up really badly. And although he's been better, I can't say he's quite recovered. And we know his numbers have definitely not recovered for the season. He's sporting a 6.04 ERA. The whip isn't great, but also the strikeout rate is surprisingly low for him. Now, at 26.5% K rate, that's pretty good for most pitchers. But so far, that is his worst since 2020. Last year is a 29.4% strikeout rate. So that leads you to wonder, with a couple of bad outings, including that one horrific one, and his numbers overall being a little bit lower, is there something wrong here? I don't think there is, because I couldn't find anything wrong. In fact, he has been one of the biggest underachievers, if you want to call it that, in terms of performance versus expected performance. His xERA, expected ERA, according to StatCast, a 3.36. His Sierra, the skill independent ERA, which is very similar, a 3.35. There's a huge gap, and so there's got to be improvement here. When a pitcher has such a bad outing, they give up several runs in a short time, it's really hard to recover. It takes time gradually for the ERA to look even somewhat decent. And so you got some people who will be impatient. He hasn't had a really great outing yet, a dominant performance, a sign of what he's looked like in the past. So we're still waiting on that. I think it will come, but these things take time. It's not like the next start out, he's just going to all of a sudden throw a complete game shutout. It doesn't work that way. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try to get a guy who I know should be pitching like an ace. I'm going to give up pitchers like, why not his teammate now in San Diego, Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta is a known name. He's now his first year in an actual favorable home park. He's pitching great. Look, I like Pivetta. I believe in Pivetta, but I still do believe that Dylan Cease is better. Give me Cease straight up if someone's willing to do that. And you know what? Take it a step further. I know everyone's all over Kodai Senga, the Mets. I mean, look, this is what he's capable of. He is somebody who, had he been healthy last year, who knows? And so this one's a little bit tougher, but let's flip the script here and look at Senga's expected stats versus his actual stats. It stands to reason, yeah, he's overachieving because you don't keep an ERA below 1 for the entire season, but there's a big gap here. So right now, Senga's got an 0.79 ERA, but his xERA is a 2.60. Still pretty good, but his Sierra is a 3.85. And even with as dominant as he's looked, he's only got a 23% strikeout rate. Cease still bests him in that category. These are the types of deals that would make a lot of fantasy managers uncomfortable, right? Looking at the ERA of the guy you have versus the one that you're trying to get. But again, think regression. It happens both ways, positive and negative. You want to be in the right end of it. So far, Cease has had some bad luck. Senga has been great. So has Pivetta. It's going to eventually even out for both of them. So this is why we buy low and also simultaneously sell high. All right, now I don't know if you can call Ryan Pepiot an ace. I mean, he isn't really the number one starter, even with McClanahan out for the Rays, but he could definitely be a fantasy asset. Could, because he hasn't been. So I could just repeat a lot of the same things I already said about Strider, about Cease. Again, not the same caliber. I'm not saying that he's up there with those guys, but a lot of the underachievement, regression, etc. Looked into it. There's nothing that concerns me. The one thing that stands out as far as why he has been, let's just say, disappointing, he was pretty bad the first couple of starts, getting a little bit better, finally threw another quality start this last time out, but still not what you were hoping for if you drafted him. Well, what stands out is two things. The first is the four-seamer hasn't been that good. Last year, opponents hit 181 against his fastball. This year, 385. Ouch. But there is nothing inherently wrong with the way he's throwing his four-seamer. Definitely hasn't lost any velocity because it's exactly identical to last year's 94.9 miles per hour. The movement is still the same. Location actually isn't that different either. Look at the heat map. He's still getting it up in the zone where he wants it. Maybe he's just left a few too many in the zone against some good hitters. But that's the other thing which stands out. It's kind of odd. I don't usually point to schedule in baseball as something, that will point to performance, but a real schedule quirk here. Tampa Bay, is in a new home stadium. Well, so far, Ryan Pepiot has had 5 starts, and all 5 have come at Steinbrenner Field. As we know, this is playing definitely to be more of a hitter's park, and especially some left-handed power pull hitters are enjoying that short right field porch, but also really the wind blowing balls out a little bit. That's something that we've seen happen. It's in the top half of the league in terms of overall park factor, and I believe 11th in home run factor early on. And Pepiot has had every start so far at home, and he's faced some pretty good offenses overall. And so I think that he can get better. Also, I want to point this out about not just Pepiot, but really Rays pitchers in general. And in fact, I'm not going to go at length about him here, but if you want to look for another cheaper kind of buy low option, Taj Bradley, definitely going to be one of those underachievers in terms of expected stats. What I've heard, take this for what it's worth, and there are weather experts, have been articles done on this. Right now, the way the wind is going on there in Florida, the Tampa Bay Stadium, it's favorable for the hitters, especially going toward that right field wall. But as the season goes on and as we get to the fall, again, the later part in the pennant stretch, not just for reality, but in fantasy of the season, it actually might be more favorable for pitchers because the wind will start to blow a little more in the opposite direction. So I kind of take that little nugget and think, okay, this might be a good chance to maybe buy low on some of these Tampa pitchers that have gone off to slow starts. Now, Pepiot isn't universally owned, but most 12-team or deeper competitive leagues, someone's at least got him stashed or, is maybe rolling him out there. I'm going to go ahead and, what I'm going to say here, sell my overachievers, give away one of these veterans who is definitely going to come back down to earth, like a Tyler Mahle, who I know I just told you to pick up 2 weeks ago before he went on this run, but now is definitely the time to sell on him, and Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett will not be doing anything revelationary that he hasn't done for the past 10 plus years. So you got Bassett. I'm going to flip him and take a chance on a more talented young pitcher. All right, now where it comes to hitters, again, these were two of my favorites, and guys who are, I believe, my guys, must-haves. I still feel that way about Jordan Westburg. But if you don't have him, I mean, first of all, you're probably glad because he just had another 0 for a day and it's hitting 187. You know, this is not a guy who's going to give you any speed, despite playing a lot of his games at second base, also qualifies at third base. He does have 4 home runs, but yeah, that's kind of where the good news ends. I mean, that batting average is a drag, and he has just not done a lot lately. I mean, you could kind of say that for the whole Orioles offense. Well, now all of a sudden they're 4 games under 500. But I still believe in Westburg. So first of all, he did really early on. In fact, the first series of the game, according to his skipper, got banged up. All right, so never hit the IL, wasn't anything serious, but maybe he wasn't at 100%. And then he just kind of started pressing, right, trying to do too much. He's trying to yank the ball out of the yard. He's done it a couple times, but he's sacrificing content. So he's got to just get back to being himself. And I think he will. And in fact, there is some bad luck at play here. His expected batting average is way higher than his actual average. It's at 268. And his strikeout rate is actually lower than last year. This is really not so much a plate discipline issue. This is a little bit more of a launch angle issue. I think he'll square up and get it straightened out. I am not worried here. So, you know what? Let's go and flip any one of these overachieving second basemen right now. Brendan Donovan, Kyron Paris, even Tommy Edman. Yeah, I know Tommy Edman has been great. Give me Jordan Westburg over those guys. And the other hitter I am actively trying to get in trade talks is Riley Green, one of my very favorites. But he's also gone ice cold. Another 0 for 4 day, he's hitting 217. And it's funny because after 1 week of this season, he was looking great. In fact, 1 week in, he had 3 homers and 5 RBIs already. And now, over 3 weeks into the season, he's still got 3 home runs, along with that low batting average. And we really need that batting average to play up, along with the power, because kind of like Westburg, he's not getting his steals. This is a key cog to that Tigers lineup. He's hitting third. Spencer Torkelson has been going off and doing great. So where's Green? He's supposed to be the one who is the steady, consistent one, the one that we didn't have to worry about. I'm not worried about Green because, again, nothing has changed here. He's just kind of in a funk. I don't really have much deeper here either for Riley Green. I still like him overall. I like the skill set. I like the situation. I think he'll be better. I'm buying low if I can, and you already know I'm flipping Wilyer Abreu right now while I can get something for him. I think someone might do that. And if there's anybody out there who believes that Byron Buxton might actually stay healthy for a full season and not drag down your batting average, yeah, I'm glad giving him up to get Riley Green if I can. Keep in mind here, there's a bunch of other potential trades you could work. It depends on your roster. I don't know who you have. And you don't have to do straight up position for position. These are just the names I'm recommending if you want to upgrade. You know, it really depends on your roster makeup and all of that. You shouldn't have to, and you really shouldn't be giving up someone who has been great already and you expect to continue to be great, because then you're not getting any advantage. And if you missed this week's Panic video where I broke down in detail Chris Sale, Tanner Bibby, Sandy Alcantara, Luis Castillo, and others, you want to know what to do with those aces? Well, I'll tell you right now, they're not all buy low options, but you can find out if you watch that video.